What does your life look like at 25? Mine? Every morning I wake up, go to my office job, and at the end of the month, I take home exactly $350. I limit myself to $5 a day for food, no more. It might sound tight, but this is just a normal day for me. Let me show you how I make it work, from the moment I clock out until the lights go off at night. Nothing special to say about the workday itself. Just another day trading time and energy for a modest but steady paycheck. To a lot of people, this might sound like a dull job. But for me, it's the foundation, the thing that keeps this life running, even if just barely. PM, the computer shuts down, I grab my bag and head out. Outside, the rush hour crowd is as thick as ever, honking horns, exhaust fumes, everyone rushing to get home. The sky was still sunny at that point. I figured it'd be just another ordinary evening. Back in my room, the first thing on my mind wasn't changing into dry clothes, it was the hunger gnawing at me after a long day with nothing but a rushed lunch at the office. I grabbed 2 slices of leftover bread from yesterday, toasted them on both sides, but left them on a bit too long, and they came out slightly burnt. Poured a bit of condensed milk into a small bowl. Warm toast, torn into pieces, dipped straight into the sweet milk, a snack straight out of my broke college days. Changed into dry clothes, and got to work on the real meal. First, the green onions, peeled, trimmed, rinsed under running water, the faucet trickling in the small sink, the sharp fresh smell of onion filling the air. Then the meat pulled out of the fridge, bought yesterday for about 40,000 dong, roughly $2, portioned out to stretch across a few meals, the rest still sitting in the freezer waiting for another day. I laid it out on the cutting board, gently rubbing with my hands to clear away any bone fragments or leftover bits. Rinsed it a few more times until the water ran completely clear. I poured water into the pot first, then dropped in the meat along with a few crushed dried shallots. Set the pot on the induction cooktop. Most rented rooms in Vietnam only allow induction stoves. Gas burners aren't permitted for fire safety reasons. I pressed the power button, set it to medium heat, a soft beep confirming the pot had been detected. The water started to simmer, white foam slowly building up, thicker with every passing minute. I picked up a spoon, leaned in close, and carefully skimmed off layer after layer, setting it aside in a small bowl. As soon as one layer was cleared, another would rise. I kept at it patiently, until the broth turned clear again, no longer cloudy like before. Once the meat was cooked, I moved on to the kimchi soup. Kimchi cost 15,000 dong a pack, about $0.7. Tofu was 5,000 dong, about $0.2. Added a spoonful of pork lard to the pot, letting it melt slowly over medium heat, spreading across the bottom, glossy and rich. I dropped in the minced garlic, a soft sizzle, the smell of frying garlic hitting the air almost instantly. Stirred it for a few seconds until golden, careful not to let it burn. Then added the kimchi, stir-frying it in that same garlicky lard. The kimchi hit the hot pot with a sharp sizzle, its sour, spicy, fermented smell mixing with the garlic aroma, filling the tiny kitchen corner. After another minute of stir-frying, letting the kimchi soak up the flavor and get even more fragrant, I ladled in the broth from the boiled meat, the same clear broth I'd patiently skimmed just moments ago, pouring it straight into the simmering kimchi. It came back to a boil almost instantly, steam rising up thick. And that was it. The base of the kimchi soup was done, using the naturally sweet meat broth instead of making a separate stock from scratch, saving both time and a little extra money. Once the meat was fully cooked, I pulled it out to cool slightly, then sliced it into thin pieces and arranged them neatly on a plate. While at it, I mixed up a quick dipping sauce: minced garlic, minced chili, a squeeze of lime, a bit of sugar, a spoonful of chili sauce, and fish sauce, stirred together with a splash of water to balance it out. Just a few minutes. Sour, spicy, salty, and sweet all at once. And just like that, dinner was ready. Right as I set everything on the table, my wife walked in from her overtime shift, the familiar sound of the door, followed by a quiet sigh of relief after a long day. She quickly changed, washed her hands, and sat down across from me. No need for many words, one look at the table said enough. Not much talking, just the occasional check in how was work today. Was overtime rough? Nothing fancy about the meal, but having someone to share it with made it feel warmer than usual. Nights are when I work on side projects, sometimes a small freelance gig, sometimes learning a new skill. On $350 a month, I know one thing for sure: if I only rely on my 9 to 5, this life isn't going anywhere. The steady click of the keyboard filled the quiet room. Outside, the rain had completely stopped, just the occasional drip echoing off the wet concrete below. I worked slowly, unhurried, pausing now and then to glance out at the night sky before getting back to it. Not rushing, but not slacking off either, because I know these small efforts, night after night, are what might actually change that $350 number someday. Some days I wonder when this will get easier, but looking over at her, already asleep after a long day, it hits me, small as it is, we still have a roof, a warm meal, and each other every night. Maybe that's the real wealth. Tomorrow, we'll keep going, still $5 a day, still late nights working. But as long as we have each other, I believe we're moving in the right direction. Thank you for watching until the end. If you're working just as hard, wherever you are, know that you're not alone. If this story felt familiar, hit subscribe to follow our journey. I'll be back with more of these ordinary days. See you in the next video.